House Speaker Mike Johnson addressing the House, the Hill, this vote that just passed.
One Democrat vote with us to do the right thing, and that is to fund the government. This was a clean CR. It freezes funding. It's a responsible thing to do, and we're ensuring that troops continue to get their paychecks and TSA agents continue to do their work and be paid, and essential workers on the border and elsewhere are doing their jobs. It's shameful what happened on the Democrat side. They engaged in a misinformation campaign. They put out talking points about the bill on Friday before the bill was even filed, which was Saturday afternoon. They've been lying and misrepresenting the facts about what's in the bill, and the American people can read it for themselves. It's only 99 pages long. We did our job today, and it's shameful that they will stop at nothing. They will suggest that this bill is something that it's not, and they will run out the clock to shut down the government in a desperate attempt to stop the America First agenda. But I will tell you that President Trump and Republicans in Congress will stop at nothing to deliver on that agenda. We are going to continue to work hard. We will continue to stick together and get this job done, and it's an essential one. Now that the government funding bill has been passed out of the House, we send it to the Senate, and it falls on the desk of Chuck Schumer. He is the leader of the Democrats on that side, and he must determine whether he wants to fund the government, do the responsible thing, or whether he wants to shut the government down. And I certainly hope that there are enough Democrats in the Senate who have a conscience who will do the right thing by the American people and take care of business over there. So, any questions? Anybody?
Are you expecting a shutdown?
I certainly hope not. I believe they'll do it. I believe the Republicans will stick together in the Senate as we have in the House. And I hope there are at least a number of Democrats in the Senate who will do the right thing. If not, this will be on their shoulders, and everybody in America knows that.
Mr. Speaker, on the other legislative undertaking, reconciliation, some senators yesterday suggested that they can get the ball rolling by sometime like August, which is far beyond your timeline.
August is far too late. No, we're going to move that ball a lot faster than that, and we'll be talking with our colleagues and friends, Republican leadership in the Senate about this. They will be working the rest of this week, and then I think both chambers are doing district work next week. When we get back, this will begin in earnest, and we'll have leaders and lieutenants, committee chairs of jurisdiction in both chambers working together to begin that process, to finish up the resolution and move forward with budget reconciliation. That's going to be a very important thing for the country.
A rescissions package, a lot of folks have spoken about that in part with this continuing resolution. What's the status of that?
We anticipate that we will get a rescissions package from the White House as soon as all the calculations are made. The reason we took this step now is to allow for that process to continue to play out. And the DOGE efforts and the other things that are happening in the administration are very important for the American people, because ultimately what we're going to be able to do is downsize the size and scope of the federal government, make it work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and identify these extraordinary areas of fraud, waste, and abuse and eliminate that. So a rescission request from the White House would come over appropriately in the right timing when they have the calculations done, and Congress will do its job there. We are going to deliver for the American people.
So thank you guys.
We're not sure yet. They're working on the calculations, which is the reason we could not include it today. But we do anticipate that. We're going to work hand in hand with the White House, and I want to compliment President Trump on his ability to be so involved that he's watching this step by step. He is determined to deliver for the people, and we are as well. So this is a well-coordinated effort between the White House and our Senate Republican colleagues and House Republicans. So we'll continue to work in that partnership to get this agenda done. Thank you.
All right, you were just listening to House Speaker Mike Johnson addressing reporters after the House passed this continuing resolution to fund the government through the end of September. That starts the kickoff to throwing this bill to the Senate to actually get it passed in time to avert a government shutdown. For more on this, I want to bring in Jay O'Brien, who's been following this all from Capitol Hill. And Jay, so we heard Speaker Johnson, he name-checked Leader Schumer and talked about how this now falls on Democrats to make sure that we don't have a government shutdown in Washington at a critical time. But before this, I want you to break down how this all played out, because we knew that Johnson had very narrow margins here. He could only afford to lose about 2. So break this vote down for us.
Yeah, it went down in dramatic fashion, Alex. So Mike Johnson was always going to have one Republican no vote, and that was Thomas Massie of Kentucky. He's a spending hawk. He always votes no on measures like this. So that was baked in going into this vote. And the question was, would anyone else vote against this? Johnson, because of the legislative math, could afford to lose one other Republican, 2 no votes in total. And he had about 10 who were publicly undecided going into this vote. We know that President Trump was on the phone, working the phones, pressing members who were undecided to vote yes. J.D. Vance was up here on the Hill as well, but it was unclear if any of those undecideds had actually moved to yes. I talked to one before he left to go vote. He said he was walking to the floor and was still undecided. So we were watching every vote closely, Alex, and the reality is every single one of those 10 or so undecideds voted yes. Mike Johnson was able to turn all of those maybes into yeses, and ultimately he only got that one no vote, Thomas Massie, that he had always planned for, and he picked up one Democrat. We had thought no Democrats would vote for this, and in large part they didn't. But one Democrat, Jared Golden of Maine, who's a frontline Democrat in a competitive district, who's a moderate, he did vote with Republicans for this temporary government funding measure. So Mike Johnson was able to pass this with a lot of breathing room. We thought this vote would be a squeaker, and it was largely along party lines, but it was a serious win for Speaker Johnson, able to get this over the goal line and, as you say, kick it over into the Senate, where it might have a much rockier road.
Well, and so to that point, what does the math look like right now in the Senate? We've heard that, at least from some Democrats, that, moving towards a government shutdown might be leverage to walk back some Trump policies. So, is the math there?
And it looks like using this as a point of leverage might be too late. That was something that we heard frequently from House Democrats. And remember, House Democrats said they had serious ideological objections with this temporary government funding bill, and they were not going to give the votes that Johnson has needed in the past. Remember, Mike Johnson has needed to frequently turn to House Democrats to offset no votes in his own party and avert government shutdowns. He did it in December and he did it in September. Over in the Senate, we heard the same kind of concern and objections over this temporary government funding plan from Senate Democrats, but none of them came out firmly and said that they were 100% against this. Chuck Schumer, who you said Johnson name-checked just moments ago, said today a version of, let's see what the House sends us. That's not a heck no from Chuck Schumer. That's a let's see how this plays out. And here's the other thing, Alex. Because Mike Johnson was able to pull this off, it really raises the pressure on the Senate for a couple of reasons. One of them is the House is leaving today. This is their last day in session this week. They go on recess. They had votes tomorrow. They canceled them. So now they send this legislation over to the Senate and essentially say to the Senate, you either vote to approve this legislation and avert a government shutdown by Friday, or you change it or do your own thing and send it back to the House to be passed, and the House isn't going to be here. So it really raises the pressure on Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats, because we know in large part Republicans are going to vote for this measure, but they will need, because as you say, the legislative math in the Senate, a handful of Senate Democrats to vote with Republicans, and it's very unclear what those Democrats are going to do at this hour, but they are under pressure, Alex.
Yeah, Speaker Johnson looking pretty satisfied this afternoon as he kicks things over to the Senate. Jay O'Brien, thank you very much for breaking this all down for us.